Blake Snell just became the 7th player to win a Cy Young in both the National League and American League, but his 2023 campaign was certainly the most unique in this group. Take a look at this sequence from September 19th. Snell allowed a walk to leadoff hitter Nolan Jones, but this was nothing new. In 2023, he led the league with 24 leadoff inning walks. However, he also walked Elias Diaz, so that's 2 base runners with no outs. How does Snell respond? He strikes out 2 batters in a row and gets the 3rd batter to ground out. You've just watched the Blake Snell experience. Now, his walks did lead to some runs from time to time, but more often than not, he got himself out of trouble. This is how Snell became the only pitcher ever to lead the majors in both ERA and walks. Overall, this Cy Young campaign was one for the ages, but Snell certainly didn't begin the season in Cy Young form.
Alonso smokes one to deep left center. Forget that. That is way out of here. Pete Alonso gives the Mets the lead with his 6th home run of the year.
On April 12th, Snell gave up 2 home runs in a loss against the Mets. But as a whole, his month of April was the worst of his entire career. It's been well established that Snell performs much better after the All-Star break. But the fact he was struggling this much was concerning. Although, if there's any consistent trait Snell has shown throughout his career, it's that he's consistently inconsistent, and it stems from a sporadic inability to control emotions. For example, in a start in June 2022, Snell allowed only 2 earned runs in 6 innings, meaning he had thrown a quality start. However, he didn't care about that, instead acknowledging how his frustrations got the better of him, as 5 of the 6 hits he allowed had exit velocities under 80 miles per hour. Quite understandable frustration, especially when he's admitted to be the type of pitcher to get worked up about balls and strikes in rehab starts. However, as Snell said, in order to find his groove, he needs to understand these are calls he can't control. As Yogi Berra said, baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical. So for a pitcher like Snell, someone who is already susceptible to poor pitch control, the importance of controlling emotions is magnified. Well, there's a reason why I chose to highlight Pete Alonso's home run in April 2023, as once the inning ended, Snell held up the PitchCom device to the camera and said, "Terrible." After the game, he said he was trying to call for a slider on his PitchCom, but he kept pushing the button for a 2-seamer. So instead of taking a pitch clock violation or risk crossing up catcher Austin Nola, he signaled for a fastball, but missed his spot. In 2023, not only were PitchCom transmitters approved for pitchers to wear, the pitch clock was introduced as well, which Snell voiced his displeasure for a month into the season. In particular, he criticized the effect it had on stolen bases and how pitchers and hitters feel rushed. All in all, there were many factors to Snell's worst April of his career, but interestingly, after his last start of the month, he said he liked where he was at. Now, this may sound a bit odd considering his numbers, but Snell believes chasing and focusing on results only makes you worse. Instead, trusting the process is what will reward you, as sometimes results and how you feel on the mound don't match up. To be fair, some pitchers have said this before, and in his first 3 starts in May, the process began to reward Snell. Snell began May with 3 straight quality starts, his first streak of this nature since 2021, but his most impressive start was on May 6th. Just watch how he approaches this at-bat against Mookie Betts. He begins the at-bat with a curveball. It misses, but it keeps Betts guessing as he then takes a fastball for a strike. Snell knows how good his fastball is, and it's this quality fastball that allows him to succeed with his curveball and slider. These breaking pitches are likely in Betts' mind, but he also knows Snell, being the fastball-loving pitcher he is, has no issues doubling up on it. That's exactly what happens, and Betts is late to the pitch. Now, Snell could throw a breaking ball, but Betts, being the disciplined hitter he is, could be expecting it. So Snell decided to throw his 4th pitch, the changeup. A pitch that's been dormant during certain periods in the past couple seasons. But in 2023, his changeup was as dominant as ever. It may not have been apparent in the win column, but these 3 quality outings showed that the process was finally rewarding Snell. That was until his May 19th start against the Red Sox.
And a high fly dead away center field. Angles back, track wall, and she's gone! A 3-run blast. His second home run of the ballgame, number 13 for the year.
Following this game, Snell's ERA skyrocketed by nearly a full run. In fact, this ERA was a career worst through the first 9 games of a season. So, knowing a drastic turnaround is on the horizon, how does he do it? How does he become the first pitcher to win the Cy Young after possessing a record 5 games under 500? Not to diminish Snell's mindset, but it had to be more than just trusting the process, right? Well, in a way, trust was a factor in this upcoming turnaround. In particular, the trust between a pitcher and catcher. In mid-May, the Padres were in desperate need of an offensive upgrade at the catcher position, so they decided to take a flyer on a veteran catcher off waivers.
Driven to left field, deep and far, and that ball is gone! Welcome to San Diego, Gary Sanchez.
When the Padres added Gary Sanchez, the primary reason was for his offensive potential, which he showcased in his second game as a Padre on May 31st. Although he was also behind the plate for Snell's 4th quality start of the season. Following another quality start a week later, Snell showed lots of praise for Sanchez's work behind the plate, and until Sanchez's injury in early September, these two remained a duo for much of the summer, a summer where Snell dominated the league. Heading into the All-Star break, Snell reached heights he'd never experienced before. In June, he pitched 4 straight starts with double-digit strikeouts, a feat matched by only Spencer Strider in 2023. As a result, Snell was named June's National League Pitcher of the Month. During this month, Snell's pitch usage drastically changed compared to earlier in the season. On a game-by-game basis through the end of May, his fastball usage rate bounced from 45% to as high as 72%. However, beginning in June and through the rest of the season, this rate never surpassed 51.8%, which was lower than Snell's average fastball rate in 2022. At the same time, he increased the usage of his breaking balls and held a consistent changeup rate that was the highest it had been since 2020. Now, as effective as his fastball, slider, and changeup were, his curveball was the best of the bunch, as at the end of the season, it had the highest strikeout rate and second highest whiff rate of any pitch in the league. Up to this point in Snell's Padres tenure, he hadn't thrown his 4-pitch mix to its fullest potential, which Snell himself acknowledged. But by the All-Star break, this completely changed. Now, with all of this being said, there's still something missing. Sure, Snell found a catcher he could trust with all 4 of his pitches, which allowed him to diversify how he approaches hitters. But that's only part of the story. Back in April, Snell made a very telling quote. "I'm my own worst enemy right now with the walks. Not being in the zone, not trusting it. Time is what helps you understand the trust, and when the trust happens, I go on these crazy runs where I'm striking everybody out and no one is hitting." This wasn't the first time Snell had shown disdain towards the effects walks have on his game. So, Padres pitching coach, Ruben Niebla, sought to change this mindset. Back in May, these two began to have conversations on how to pitch knowing walks are going to happen. In essence, what Niebla said was the mindset on the mound should be to go get outs, not to avoid walks. Sure, walks happen and sometimes they can lead to runs, but Snell is one of those rare pitchers who has the stuff to pitch through it. Case in point, on August 28th against the Cardinals, Snell gave up a single and 2 walks with only 1 out in the bottom of the 4th. He was even 1 pitch away from walking in a run as the batter was not swinging at his changeups. A very tough situation for any pitcher. But as Snell said in the past, sometimes he needs to throw the fastball to understand why his other pitches work. So, with Kisner not swinging on the 3-0 count, Snell challenged him with another fastball in the hitter's count, and he was late on it. Now, with a full count, Snell dares Kisner to make solid contact on his fastball, which he couldn't. Now, there's 1 out to go with Jordan Walker at the plate. Snell decides to test him with a first pitch curveball, and Walker takes the bait, which was basically an open invitation for Snell to throw breaking balls until Walker proves he can hold off swinging. which he doesn't. At this point in the season, Snell's Cy Young candidacy was still contested, but as he dominated through each start in September, he solidified his case more and more. Ultimately, this culminated in his best performance of the season on September 19th. Remember back in the intro when I showed Snell getting out of trouble? Well, a lot more happened in this game. Snell pitched 7 no-hit innings, not only strengthening his Cy Young case, but adding many millions to the contract he's set to receive this offseason. Following one more quality start, Snell ended the year with one of the most uniquely impressive seasons in modern baseball history. Along with the fact he became the first player to lead the league in walks and ERA, he became the first player to strike out at least 30% of batters while also walking at least 13% of batters. It's incredible to look at these stats and remember just how poorly Snell began the season. In fact, following his underwhelming game against the Red Sox in May, he went on a 23-game streak with a 1.20 ERA in 135 innings pitched. This is a feat last accomplished by Bob Gibson in 1968, a season some consider the greatest pitching season of all time. All in all, Snell thrived because he understood himself more this year than at any other point in his career. But there's one question teams want to know. Is this repeatable? Ultimately, it comes down to a few factors. First is balancing the fine line between allowing hits and walks. In 2022 and 2023, in terms of whip, Snell allowed a near identical number of base runners. But the difference was in 2022, more of these base runners came from hits compared to 2023, where Snell allowed more walks but also had the league's lowest hits per 9 rate among qualified pitchers. It's not like he had a bad 2022 season, but if teams are paying for Cy Young Snell, they need to make sure he continues using the mindset that Ruben Niebla helped instill in 2023. The second point of concern relates to the prior point. Keeping runners on base. In 2023, Snell left 86.7% of his base runners stranded. Among every season where 180 innings were pitched, this rate is the 6th highest of all time. While this isn't the first time Snell has produced a rate of this nature, this number has heavily fluctuated throughout his career. Of course, a great defense can bail pitchers out of trouble, which Snell had in 2023. However, Snell had great defenses behind him through his entire Padres tenure. Plus, he induced only 13 double plays this year. So it's not like the defense was consistently bailing him out. Ultimately, Snell has one of the widest ranges of potential on the free agent market. But stepping away from the conversation of where he'll end up in 2024, as a Padres fan, it was pretty incredible to watch this historic campaign. In a season filled with so much disappointment, Snell was a consistent bright spot throughout the summer, both on the mound and when he went on the mic with the Padres commentators. Personally, I'd love to see him come back, but if he signs elsewhere, good luck to him, and I'm going to be very interested to see if he can repeat this level of production moving forward. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.